Welcome back, everyone. This is the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage, bringing to you a video that is a follow-up video to one I made where I was showcasing how I was using trying different things to restore the finish of a sewing machine table that at some point in its life was put in a place that wasn't friendly to furniture. Furniture is interesting. It really likes to be indoors. If it doesn't say for outdoors, there's a good reason for that. And this machine, I think, may have been stored in a very hot place or maybe a very cold, damp place. It doesn't have any weird smell, so I don't know that it had a lot of moisture around it. Basements can often be damp. I think this may have been exposed to a lot of heat. I don't know, to be honest. All I do know is that you would have seen in the last video that it had lots of crackles or crazing in the clear coat finish. So today, what are you looking at? On the left, you see my microfiber towel that I used for the interior, and you'll see some touch-up markers. These are just specifically designed for furniture touch-up. They come in different colors, and in the little jar here, the glass jar is where I keep my 99% isopropyl alcohol, and then I have Restore Finish. I've used Restore Finish many times, and I've talked about it on occasion. I'm going to use it today, but today I'm going to do a little something before I try the Restore Finish. I am going to try wiping the surface with alcohol, and the purpose of that, and remember, this is 99% isopropyl. You don't want to use the diluted stuff because then you're introducing water onto wood, which is not a great idea. So, why am I doing this? I'm going to see if rubbing with the alcohol, I believe that it does soften the clear coat finish, and because of that, I want to see if that will make any difference in how effective the Restore Finish is. And I'll let you know. We're about to find out. Okay, so I'm just going to take my microfiber towel, and I'm going to, we'll start over here. Oh, whoops, nope. I caught myself. I'm not ready to start with that yet. What am I going to do first? The first thing I want to do is to find any areas that are gouged down to the bare wood, like you see there. Maybe I want to zoom in here. It doesn't show up very well. There we go. You'll see that a lot better. So I'm going to take my markers, and this color stain has a little, on the table has a little bit of a reddish tone. And I'm not going to use it like I was drawing with it. I'm just sort of blotting the wood there. And you can see as I do, it soaks up the ink, and this should be some form of hardwood underneath the veneer, because whoever gouged this table, they were not very kind to it and went right through the veneer into the solid wood below. As I've mentioned before, when you're dealing with a hardwood, hardwoods typically absorb stain, but they absorb it more begrudgingly, and so typically stains will show a color, but not as dark as if this were, say, if this were pine, for example. That can really cause issues because you can, of course, you can touch up and stain soft woods like pine, but you may want to be careful how much of the stain, or in this case, my little touch-up marker, you apply, and what color, because the colors typically look darker on soft woods. The purpose of this is to help camouflage. I'm not filling in the gouges. And what I'm doing is not, you saw it on the inside. If you haven't seen the video that I did on the inside panels, have a look. It's not going to completely hide the gouges, but it can help to blend them in and basically try. It basically works to, I don't know if I have a gouge there or just a scratch, to help them camouflage, right? So they're not as obvious. The reason I want to do this first is that if I try the alcohol first, it will soften some of the clear coat, and it might do it enough to drag some of that clear coat onto the hardwood. the exposed gouge hardwood. And if that happens, that affects the way the color takes, because any kind of varnish acts as a at least a partial sealer, and I don't want to seal the wood. I want the wood to accept the color I'm giving it. Trying to get the camera to highlight the area that I'm. And if it looks a little streaky, keep in mind that the alcohol in the Howard's Restore Finish should help to blend in some of that, right? So it won't look like I just colored it with a marker, which you could argue, well, that's not really camouflaging. It may draw more attention to it than the scratch did, but we'll see. Okay. Now, I'm going to zoom back out, and we'll see what happens when I do both. Again, I'm going to apply the alcohol first, and then I'm going to come back with Howard's Restore Finish. Now, the alcohol is going to dry very fast. It's 99% alcohol, so it has a very quick drying time. So we'll do the little short panel here first. I'm going to keep my jar away from the table. I don't really want to knock that jar onto the table, and well. All right, let's see what happens just with the alcohol itself. Now, obviously, it looks deeper here, but that's just because we've applied something wet to the wood, and when it dries, it won't be that wet. Now, it's still, again, I have gone over it, attempting to soften that. Restore Finish, by the way, is designed to work on its own. This is not something that Howard says you should do. But I'm trying it because I want to see if I can get enough of that clear coat softened so that when I go back with the Howards, maybe the Howards will penetrate a little bit better. I don't know. The only other option I have, and I mentioned this on the inner panel, is to come back with fine steel wool. And fine steel wool is, I'm pretty sure it's going to be more, slightly more aggressive than the microfiber towel. Although as I mentioned, you never want to underestimate microfiber. It's a lot stronger than you think. Okay, so now I'm going to come back. If you remember, I have my cotton. I want to go ahead and there's not a lot of excess on here, but as I told you all, I learned this the hard way. When Howard says when you apply this product, and they'll give you different amounts of time to leave it on there, depends on how rough the surface is, but they always say to go back and wipe up excess, and they mean it. So we'll see. We'll see how this is going to turn out. My goal is to get as much of the clear coat that it has had better days. You can see it here. It's crazed and crackled. It's still there, but something has caused it to behave in a way it shouldn't. And so I am going to try this and see what it does. It's not causing any harm that I can tell. So again, right now I'm just using the alcohol alone. There used to be a product that people would use. It was called liquid sandpaper or something, and it may still be out there, I don't know. And it's used to dull the finish of, I don't know if it's used for varnishes. It was used to dull paint finishes before you painted them, so you didn't have to sand them to take off the sheen. I don't know if that product's still sold. It is very, very difficult to be around. Uh, it's very nasty stuff. And even using it outside once, it gave me a headache. So I'm not a fan of, again, anytime you use any of these products, people vary in how sensitive they are, and the products all have warnings on them, but, even if you follow their directions, you want to be extra cautious and see how you respond to these things. All right, let's come over here. Now I've got the Howards coming over. So some of that crackling is going away, right? I can tell that. And the alcohol is flashing off. Like I said, the alcohol dries extremely quickly. So I'm seeing a couple of areas here, and I don't know, I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's a round circle here that I really couldn't see before, and I'm wondering if that is, I think this may have been caused by moisture. People used to put, flower vases, and some people still do, or they'll put something like a plant, and they'll water it and it'll leak over the table. But again, these were the people who did that. They were usually not the original owners. Look at that, guys. Look at the incredible, oh my. You can see the veneer. Those of you who may have more expertise in woods than I do, I don't know if this is walnut. You can't always tell by the color alone what kind of wood it is, but it's just beautiful. Not as in, I've had tables in better shape. You've seen tables on my channel before where they were somehow miraculously they survived generations without damage. But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, it seems to look better than it did. Did it improve? I believe so. I'm gonna let this dry and see. And if I have any areas, there's a little bit of area here that's still sort of crazed and cracked. And if these areas don't improve, I think what I may do is, if I try alcohol again in the future, I'll let that alcohol dry a little bit better. It was almost all dry anyway, but let it flash off or evaporate, and then come back with the Howards, because that clear coat should still be softened, right? It's had some softening to it. So now that I've gone over the tabletop, what do you guys think? You saw it when I first started, right? I think it's an improvement. Is it factory finish beautiful? No, but it is an improvement. I'm not done yet. I think that I am going to, now that I've done this, I have not put the feed in wax, okay? Once you start waxing wood, you start to fill in the pores, and changing any of the condition of the clear coat becomes more difficult. So I don't use whatever furniture wax you use. I use the Howard's feed and wax, but there are other waxes for furniture. But before you put wax on, make sure you're done, because your ability to improve one of the finishes on these old tables is higher without a wax. Waxes act like a sealer, and they can interfere with your efforts. So now that I've got I have both the top and now the underside of the table. I'm opening it up to see if I got anything here that might have spilled coming through a little bit there. And I am very pleased with what has happened. I see a significant improvement, to my eye anyway, compared to what I had when I first got this table. The other parts of the table, the front and the sides, they're in much better shape. I will go over them with the Restore finish, but I don't really see any issues there. And it's not a surprise, right? This, of course, is the working surface. People had sewing equipment. They, would set their scissors down, like of course you would. And they used this. This was a workbench. This is where people did their sewing. And then on the top, people would often, put something on top of it, and it would harm the finish. So, after I have let this fully dry, the inside should be dry enough. I'm going to I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to come back. I'm done with the alcohol. In fact, I'm not sure that the alcohol has really made any difference because I've used Restore Finish before, and it may have all the solvent I need for softening the clear coat. So maybe I was trying to fix a problem that did not exist. But what I am going to do, now that I have tried the microfiber towel, which does have abrasiveness to it, make no mistake, I think I'm going to, I'll stop by the hardware store and I'm going to get some of that 4/0 extra fine steel wool. And I think I'll try that and see if that doesn't bite into the clear coat finish enough to where I can get some of this, I don't know, crazing, crackling, alligatoring. People have different finishes. Again, it was a lot worse before I started, but I can still see some of that. And I'm pretty sure what I'm seeing, that texture, that pattern is the clear coat that started to destabilize. It's on there. It's not flaking off. Got a little bit of flaking going on over here in the edges, right? If I zoom way in, you'll see that. You'll see that right here. I can be still long enough to show it to you. You see it right here. You see it along the back edge. Don't know if this used to sit in front of a window. I can't really see any serious fading. But again, compared to what I had, this is conservation. So maybe you have a sewing table and maybe yours kind of looked a little haggard. Anything can be an improvement. And honestly, using this Restore Finish product is very simple. I mean, it's not a lot of work. I literally, applied it and wiped it, and wow, it works pretty quickly for whatever it's going to do. And so, if I come back over here, letting it dry, I think it looks, and I haven't polished or put any wax on it yet, so I'm going to give it one more go with the steel wool and more Restore Finish. I'll wipe that, and then I'll let it dry, and we'll take another look at it, and then all that'll be left is to put some feed and wax on it and call it a day, and I'll buff that out, and hopefully this cabinet is going to be ready to re-accept that Singer 201 Centennial Badge machine that this table held since around 1951-52. I appreciate all of you watching my channel. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so, and any support that you can give to the channel through a donation to Buy Me a Coffee, you'll see a link right here on the video and on the homepage as well. It'll take you right there, and you can donate as many or as few coffees as you would like to support my efforts as I find more and more machines and tables that deserve a second life or a third life. Many of these are multi-generational, and they're too magnificent to throw away. And there are people who will throw them away. Yes, they still do. And they give it one last try. They list them, usually online somewhere, and I pay them for them, and then I take them and I get them back home, and I go through and make the attempt to conserve and revive them. And when they come back to life, it's just an extraordinary thing. Those of you who've ever worked on your own machine, or maybe you love restoring machines, or maybe you restore other kinds of things, there's a certain feeling when you know that you've not only saved something from the landfill, but you've really given it a whole new life. So thank you all again, and we will see you next time.